Hello, everybody. So I want to talk about domestic violence, um, emotional abuse, physical abuse, what that does to a person, especially an empathic person. Um, when I first met my husband, he lit up my world. Um, he is a larger than life personality. But when I met him, I wasn't fully aware of my condition, and he wasn't aware of my condition either. Well, I knew I had ADHD, but I wasn't aware that it had transformed into bipolar disorder, and he couldn't understand how my moods would change so rapidly. And one minute I would just be his best friend and be loving on him, and the next minute it was like I was his worst enemy, and I would say some of the most hurtful things um, to him. I still struggle with that sometimes because I don't take meds, so I have to really, really, really do a lot of meditation and a lot of self checks. Um, I realized when I started addressing and researching my conditions that um, I wasn't ever trained to check my thoughts. Um, and another thing that taught me that was Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. I didn't realize how many thoughts I allowed to run rampant in my mind and just take over me. And I would be such an emotional wreck and so unreachable that I couldn't imagine the toll that it took on my husband now that I think about it. So it was eventually going to transpire into violence with no understanding of what was going on. Um, so I understand why. That doesn't make it okay. Um, but I understand what happened. I understand what went wrong. Before I used to blame him and tell him that all of this was his fault. But it's nobody's fault. When we're brought into this world, we're brought into this world with what we have. And what we acquire through learning. And what we don't learn is just ignorance, and we don't learn it. And we can't implement it until we do. Um, that's why it's very hard for me to pass judgment on people, because I've been in situations where I had Bell's palsy. Half of my face was paralyzed. And the way people would look at me or make fun of me or talk about me or make jokes, like, it was funny to them. We were kids. But you don't understand the type of scars that leaves on a person. And there were so many wounds, so many different things I experienced when I was younger. I didn't realize I had held on to so many different things until I started addressing my mind. The word says to be renewed. Um, what is it? We are renewed basically by a transformed mind. And it's basically to change the way you think, for the kingdom of God is at hand. And what that means is you have everything within you to conquer whatever ails you, if you believe that you have it within you. And I didn't know that. My world was manifesting lack and poverty because I didn't feel like I could accomplish the things I needed to accomplish, because I believed all of the negative things that people were saying about me, including the man that I love with all my heart. To call me a bitch, to call me a hoe, to be slapped to the point where my ears rang, to beg for a truce sometimes. But he had developed so much hate for me because he didn't understand what I was going through, and he couldn't help me, that he just had disdain for the whole situation, which I understand. Now I understand after a lot of prayer. But at the moment in the time, I hated him as well. I didn't understand why he would treat me so bad and just leave me, or, be so easy to cut me off. Um, but, people can only take so much. And I buried my mother-in-law, his mother, about a week ago. And I was able to hold her in my arms for a week before she passed. But the Lord knew I couldn't be there when it happened. So he put me on a plane to Florida so I could go visit some of my family down there. One of the best experiences in my life. Me and all my kids rode on a plane for the first time. And to see the clouds in the sky, it was transcendent. And I was able to connect with my mother-in-law. And I know she's proud of me because all she wanted me to do was change my life and be a good mother. So I thank you, Charlene Scott, for everything you did for me.